they lived in Oakland is a black community. Her godmother was Afro-American woman. The school she went were all Afro-American. Her friends were Afro-American. So I used to tell the guys who used to ask me in Delhi, why is she Afro-American? I said, you are all idiots. I used to tell them, like, you are not journalist, I am a journalist, these are not the questions you ask. When her whole life was in a black community with a black godmother, etc., and the Indians didn't really mingle with her very much because of her association with the Afro-American, the expression would say, oh, I'm an Indian. And two, her mother was a Hindu woman, I mean, everybody say, she married a Jamaican, a black Hakim. Indians even today do not like blacks. And we have got laws in various states which prohibit or put obstacles in the way of interreligious marriage. So I used to tell them, you think Kamala is going to tell you, oh, you people are so good. But my mother married a Christian and you are all happy. But here you are through stones at her. So I said, don't talk rubbish like that. And today I see a couple of other morning also, and saying that she is doing black Americans because of minority.
Right. Mr. Gopalan Balachandran, I wanted to ask you...
No, she was black long before she was Hindu.
I get your point.
Let's not do that question, okay? Now, your question about our election.
Yes.
Now the question is this. Till for the last few months, if you have been following the elections, you would know the consensus among the political scientists in US and the various correspondents and everybody was that Kamala Harris had 226 electoral votes, consensus, and Trump had 219. All the states that you see in the red in the maps today were already given to Trump prior to the election. The only reason is those elections are sometimes they count quicker. And three, you should know that in US, how the votes are counted are not like in India. Each county counts its vote.
Yes.
And there are thousands of counties.
Indeed,
okay?
Yes, Mr. Balachandran, it's a very complex election and also a US election voting system. I'll just come to you, sir. I'll just come to you. Thank you so much for speaking to us, but I will keep coming back to you. You have been very patiently telling us about your niece and how you feel that she is definitely going to be the President of the United States. Akanksha Swaroop, my colleague, is also joining us from New York. She's been getting us not just the sights but the sounds also of the New Yorkers. Akanksha, over to you. We are just getting in those early trends, early leads on predictable lines. Donald Trump surging past those 100 points in electoral votes. I think the number is 177. He's holding his lead in North Carolina and Georgia, the important battleground states. But tell us, what information do you have, and also what really are the sentiments? New York, in fact, has been called in the Democrats' favor, also on expected lines as well.
Yes, absolutely. But what is not on expected lines, Avantika, so far is that this is not one election that is shaping up to be as neck and neck that the polls were showing it to be, because the lead right now that we are referring to of Donald Trump is a sizable one, and he just needs another precisely 100 electoral votes to, in fact, to have Kamala Harris concede defeat. And we'll have to see how this in fact shapes up in the hours ahead. Many have been calling it a red mirage, which is the term they use when the Republicans have an apparent lead, which is not really a decided one. But so far, many election pundits are saying that this is a red mirage. But I think the electoral votes with which Donald Trump is currently holding that lead in itself speaks for what one can expect from the overall result. As you said, what is on expected lines is, of course, the crucial battleground states like Georgia and North Carolina going in favor of Donald Trump, something that the polls had predicted. Surprisingly, Georgia last time had been won by Joe Biden with a very thin margin of almost 12,000 votes. So this time around, Donald Trump has managed to flip Georgia in his favor. We'll have to see which way, in fact, Pennsylvania goes. Wisconsin, Michigan, along with New York, of course, are expected to. New York, of course, has gone Democratic, but we'll have to see how Wisconsin and Michigan are also shaping up. But having said that, yes, it would be very interesting to see with the kind of victory margin, whoever emerges out to be the winner commands. Is this going to be a sweeping victory? And that's going to, in fact, define the kind of coalition government you will see in the White House.
Oh, absolutely. Akanksha, I'm going to keep coming back to you. So the early trends coming in with Donald Trump surging past the 100 points in electoral votes. Seher Khan is with us, foreign policy expert. Seher, I wanted to understand from you about the significance of this US elections. It's been a neck and neck battle between the former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris. I know it perhaps is too premature to ask you what do you foresee happening, because one cannot really call the elections till it's over. But the impact of these elections and what kind of impact would it have on global geopolitics in the next 4 years?
Well, that's a great question. And, you know, I definitely don't want to predict. I think we're all in the same room sort of watching the results. But I think the impact on geopolitics and global affairs will be significant if Donald Trump becomes president. I think oftentimes, and I've heard this on the show also, and I've heard other analysts and people speak of Trump how there were no foreign wars when he was president, and how he has declared that he will end the current wars that are going on in Ukraine and in Gaza. And, you know, it's hard to know if that will be true or not, but I think the thing that at least troubles me, and this is just my personal opinion, is that, you know, when you're conducting foreign policy, it's important to value alliances and international organizations and multilateral organizations and laws and norms for, you know, how they stand. And I feel with President Trump, you know, the first time when he became president, he said certain things that he would do that kind of undermined like U.S. relationships with Europe, which are key allies. It also made many allies in the Indo-Pacific very nervous.
Absolutely. Indeed. Seher, I'll just come to you. I have to go straight back to Zaka, who's joining us now. Zaka, we are getting in those early trends. Battlegrounds are still too early to call. What's the latest that you're getting in at your end?
Okay, so the latest is that in the two big southern states of Georgia and North Carolina, Trump is ahead, no doubt about it. In both of those states, he's up ahead by 200,000 votes. Georgia, he lost by 12,000 votes last time around. And North Carolina, all right, we're just getting a big roar up here at the Howard University grounds. That's because CNN has just projected that Kamala Harris will get the state of Colorado. That's an important one. So 178 to Donald Trump and 91 to Kamala Harris. So we can now divide it between the two belts, as it were. All right, again the cheer going up because Kamala Harris with a tiny sliver of a lead in Arizona, a state that she's consistently sort of not led Donald Trump. So in Georgia and North Carolina, in Georgia more than 80% of the vote is in North Carolina, again close to 70% of the vote is in. Trump is leading by over 200,000 in both of those states. And I think the critical thing is there enough votes out there in urban pockets, both in Georgia and in North Carolina, for Kamala Harris to overcome the 200,000 lead that Donald Trump has. Technically, there are in North Carolina, for example, there's more than 300,000 votes out there in just one county alone. Same is the case in Georgia as well. So technically, she can, but that does not mean that she is in a good position to overcome that lead that Donald Trump has right now of 200,000. Like I said, Donald Trump won by a mere 74,000 in North Carolina in 2020. He lost by a mere 12,000 votes in Georgia. It is still a long ways to go. I think a couple of more hours, maybe by midnight, we'll get a better picture of both Georgia and North Carolina. But the other three big states, which is really the ones that she needs to win the presidency, which is Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. You know, in Pennsylvania, just 30% of the vote is counted, she's leading. In Michigan, 20% of the vote is counted, she's leading. In Wisconsin, less than 20% of the vote is counted, and she's leading. So there is a long, long way to go before we get some degree of clarity on those states, possibly into the early morning hours of tomorrow. Okay, the reason the cheer is going up is because of Virginia. Which is where, right on, you know, it's the tri-state area. It's Virginia, Maryland, and of course the District of Columbia, Washington D.C., where we're reporting to you from. And I think CNN was just showing for the first time Kamala Harris taking a lead in the state of Virginia.
Oh, that's an important one. Early trends rolling in with Donald Trump leading, but now also some trends coming in with Kamala Harris.
The black college experience passing out from here. She did her law from the Harvard University, and then of course went back to California and started her practice, and then eventually became an attorney general in the state of California. So this is a place that holds very special meaning for her. In fact, she had come here a few months ago, just around the time that she had just finished accepting the nomination of the Democratic Party, and at that time there was great enthusiasm amongst the students of Harvard University, not just for the fact that one of their alumni is going to potentially become the next president of the United States, but also the fact that she would be making history if she did become the president, that she would be the first woman president, the first African-American woman president, and also the first Indian-American president of the United States. So we're hoping to hear from Kamala Harris and her running mate Tim Walz, both of whom will be here with their families. Whether it's going to be a victory speech or a concession speech, we don't know. The important thing is we are hoping to know that one way or the other, some form of the results will be declared by later tonight itself. 2020 was an aberration because 2020 had a lot of mail-in ballots, over 100 million mail-in ballots. In fact, in some states like Pennsylvania, you could mail in even after election day was over. So that's why it took so long in 2020 for the counting to happen. If you were to go back to 2016 or 2012, by about 10, 11 p.m. Eastern, you have a fair idea. Most networks would have called the election by 10, 11 p.m. As to who has won the election. But ultimately, to get it certified, to tally every single vote, that might take much longer. But the projections of who is winning these battleground states, because ultimately whoever wins a bulk of these battleground states goes on to win the presidency. That, I suspect, if we go back, if we discount the aberration of 2020 and go back to how it was in 2016 or in 2012, then by about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock Eastern time, you would get a fair idea of who has won the battleground states and thereby who has won the presidency. So history is really at stake as far as Kamala Harris is concerned. Remember, she will become, if she wins, the first ever African-American woman, Indian-American president of the United States. So history beckons for her, and she will be here later on tonight for as the cookie crumbles or as the results go, whether it's going to be a victory speech or a concession speech. We will have to wait and see.
Security setup are monitoring the C-130 aircraft airport right now flying in Indian airspace, and in fact some are saying that this is a key protocol whenever there's an air.
Now, CNN can project that Kamala Harris will win the state of Colorado. Colorado, as expected, will go Democratic with its 10 electoral votes. CNN can also project that Donald Trump will be the winner of Mississippi. As expected, Mississippi and its 6 electoral votes go to the Republican. Let's bring in the electoral map right now. Donald Trump in the lead, 178 vote lead for Kamala Harris with 49% of the estimated vote counted. Kamala Harris in Wisconsin, 49.9% of the vote. Donald Trump bringing up the rear, 48.5% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 19,910 vote lead. That's with 43% of the estimated vote counted in Wisconsin. Pennsylvania, Donald Trump in the lead there now, 50.3% of the vote in Pennsylvania. Kamala Harris has 48.7% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 58,648 lead right now with an estimated 51% of the vote in Pennsylvania. In Georgia, Donald Trump in the lead there, 51.8% of the vote. Kamala Harris, 47.2% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 204,640 vote lead. That's with 81% of the estimated vote in Georgia in. In battleground Michigan, Kamala Harris in the lead, 51.1% of the vote. Donald Trump with 47% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 43,307 vote lead. That's with an estimated 19% of the vote in battleground Michigan. In battleground North Carolina, Donald Trump in the lead, 52.4% of the vote. Kamala Harris with 46.4% of the vote. Donald Trump with 253,752 more votes as of right now than Kamala Harris. That's with 72% of the estimated vote in. In New Mexico, Kamala Harris in the lead, 50.7% of the vote. Donald Trump with 47.6% of the vote. That means Harris has an 8,592 vote lead over Trump. That's with less than a third, 31% of the estimated vote in from New Mexico, still early in New Mexico. Kamala Harris takes the lead again in Virginia with 49.1% of the vote. Donald Trump with 49% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 1,118 vote lead. That's with 68% of the